Welcome back to the Athletes Podcast. This is episode 93 featuring none other than Zion Clark, whose new book comes out August 3rd, Zion Unmatched. An absolutely incredible episode. This guy is legitimately the definition of an athlete who can do it all. He was changing tires right before he jumped on to record with us. He competed at Kent State wrestling, winning 2 state championships. He's working towards competing in the Paralympics in 2024 in Paris, where he will be competing in the wheelchair track and field event. He brings the tenacity of a wrestler into every aspect of his life. Zion talks about his deep and darkest times, as well as some of the more positive, fun, spirited aspects of it. This is episode 93 of the Athletes Podcast featuring Zion Clark. I'm super excited for you folks to listen. Hope you enjoy. Here we go. Yo, you can do everything, eh? You're changing tires, you're jumping through hoops. What can't you do, man?
Man, that's a question with no answer.
I like that. That's the kind of confidence I figured you'd answer with. Well, I'm sorry your Wednesday hasn't been hot with a flat tire, but I'm glad we were able to get you on the Athletes Podcast, man. Excited to feature you, learn a bit more about who Zion Clark is. Honestly, just an incredible athlete from start to finish. Can you maybe give our listeners a bit of a background as to who you are, how you've become this incredible, not only social media hype individual, but also someone who's been able to inspire a pretty incredible amount of people?
Yeah, man. So, I was born into foster care in Ohio right from birth, so jumping from the first home to the second one, was a really big shock to me as a kid because I was about 2-3 years old. And then after that, for the next 17 years, it just was every couple months or every couple years, I'm in a new home. And you never knew how it was going to go. You never knew if they were going to be good people or not. And 9 times out of 10, everybody wasn't as great as they seemed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But, coming up, I was able to get into wrestling. I was able to, make some friends for the most part that really looked past my disability and treated me as an equal.
Mm.
And that really helped shape me into who I was because, I didn't really have anybody, not a support system, not a family, no mentors, nothing. And I was just kind of going through it day after day after day. And one of the most defining moments that really brought me up to who I was I was in 2nd grade, and my art teacher, he was the head wrestling coach for the school districts, like at the high school level.
Mm-hmm.
And he approached me and he was like, "Hey, Z, you should try this." And he gave me a flyer. And, I took it home to my foster mom, not knowing if she was going to say yes or no. And she was like, "Yeah," and took me to the practice. And then there I saw him. His name was Coach Donahue. There I saw him. He just welcomed me in like I belong there, man. And I had a blast. Probably never forget it. And then, I just kept working on the wrestling, tried to focus on that. I would focus on music. I would focus on things that made me happy.
Okay.
Going through everything. And
dive into that a bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's add some context. You're born with Caudal Regression Syndrome in 1997. Great year. Same year as me. Got to represent the 97s. I think it might be the best year ever for people to be born. Just saying. Little humble brag there. But yeah, at 7-8 years old, you get this wrestling flyer. You bring it home to your mom, Kim. This is your first opportunity to really take something and run with it on your own, right? Dive into how much fun it became for you, because I think that's one of the amazing aspects of sport, and where we really try and emphasize that on the Athletes Podcast, the power of sport and what it can do for the youth in our society.
Mm-hmm. So, wrestling in 2nd grade, I was in youth wrestling, and, a lot of kids were scared, because I was different, obviously. Another kid having to go against a kid with no legs, that might come as a shock, but I would always get those kids that weren't scared for the most part. And these kids, they would give it all they had, and, they would most likely beat me.
Mm-hmm.
and I would get my butt kicked, as I should, because, you know, I wasn't at the same level. And to me, that was fun. Like, even though I lost, I would just had, like, it was a rush. It was just like, I don't know, I got to just be myself and just have fun, you know? Like, I felt that's like wrestling made me feel like a kid. And the way I just would come back every practice, come back every match and learn something else and get a little bit better and a little bit better. And I worked at getting better from second grade all the way up until my senior year, even now. But it was a big difference between that final year of just getting beat up and beat every match. Because let me tell you something, man. My freshman through my junior year of high school wrestling, I won one match.
Wow.
Yeah. And most people, I feel, would have quit by then. But, you know, I really loved my friends that I had. I loved the coaches. I just loved the atmosphere of our room. So I couldn't quit. You know, those guys were like my brother, my family at that point. And something clicked. I just went to a practice the summer between junior and senior. I went to a practice like 2 or 3 times a day. Like go to one in the morning, go to one in the afternoon, and then go to one in the evening. And that would be my whole day. And I did that for about 5-6 days a week, all summer. Didn't care what was going on. I had to get in. I would always find someone that was hitting the mat. And then my senior year came around, and I didn't know if I had gotten any better, honestly, because I had wrestled an open tournament before the school year started, and I lost again still. And so I wasn't sure how it was going to go. And, you know, the first match senior year was against our rivals, and I just completely dominated the whole match. Nice. And it was a complete shock. And another thing, that was one of the first times I had someone that was in my family come support me at a match. All the other foster homes I went through, no one would ever show up to the matches. And then seeing my mom there, it like gave me like, I felt like it gave me that extra energy I needed.
100%. Bro, I mean, just to add context there, like you said, you would have quit if you didn't have your brothers and your friends there. Like most people would have quit before they even got started if they were put in a position that you were in. So first off, I just want to clarify, like what you're doing is freaking incredible in every sense of the word. So, you know, for you to be able to come here and be humble enough to say that, you know, it's your mom's support that's what really got you over is like a testament to who you are as a human being. And obviously you care deeply about others that are around you, and that's what's fueling you. I mean, you don't end up competing at Kent State, becoming a 2-time national state champ. Your sister's also a state champion. Like, man, what are they feeding you there?
I don't know. It's just my mom's from the South. She's from Alabama, and then moved up to Ohio when she was a kid. And, you know, she just brought everything we eat. Everything we do is real Southern based. My mom, like, it's all yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. Like, completely respect the elders no matter what, because they know more. Like just, I don't know. It's just,
they have the wisdom, man. They got knowledge. Yeah, 100%. That's why
my mom, she wouldn't let anybody quit doing anything. Senior year, when I first tried track, I sucked at it for that first couple of weeks, and I went home. I didn't even tell my mom I didn't go to practice. I would just like stay out, wait till practice over, then come home. And the one day the coach showed up at the door, Coach Scott, and he just snitched on me, man, which he should have done, which is like a good thing, you know. But at the time I was sick, and I was just like, I guess I'll do it. And my mom wasn't really giving me a choice either. You know, like she said, you won't be sitting at this house if you ain't doing it, if you ain't out there racing. And I was like, yes, ma'am, I guess I'll go do it.
Yeah.
And I went and I worked extra hard because I didn't want to disappoint her. And, you know, I ended up becoming a 2-time state champ. So it was pretty cool.
It's
and,
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, man. Like what you've been able to do so far, and not only do at a decent level, you're excelling, right? Like simply put, you're
Yes,
whatever
sir.
you put your mind to, you clearly have you've adopted that attitude of like just wrestling, competing at an excellent level. But I feel like that attitude wasn't necessarily there. I know kind of in your Netflix documentary, you touched on how, you maybe had a bad attitude until you came across wrestling. Do you want to maybe dive into that a bit and share how you maybe adjusted your approach to sport, life, competition, whatever it was?
Yeah. So when it came to wrestling, I felt like I was a completely different person.
Hmm.
Um, in ways that I don't even know if I can explain it, but I just had this different type of vibe I felt like I was releasing, because like it made me happy. It seemed to be like something I was meant to do, even though I sucked at it. I felt like I was supposed to be there. And with the support and my mom and everybody just starting to come together, it really helped me excel. But growing up with all of the abuse, because I got physically abused, mentally abused, emotionally, psychologically abused, it was just a nightmarish type of reality for me. And it was crazy because like I would go to school and nobody would know what was going on except for me, because I wouldn't talk to anybody.
Mm.
Because I had learned lessons on talking to people about that stuff in the past. So at that, like coming up, once I was in like middle school, high school, I just stopped talking. I was probably the most quiet. I was probably the quietest kid in the school. And at home, it was just a war zone constantly. And it was just like I couldn't focus. I couldn't get my head on straight. They had me taking pills for my ADHD. It was just it was just a whole bunch of things all mushed together, which I feel that is too much for a kid. When I was like, I'd be at school and say I didn't wear my prosthetics. So let me back up a little bit. I did wear these prosthetics for a while, ever since I
Mm-hmm.
was like a little boy, just to help keep my spine straight. Because I had spinal surgery about a few months after I was born.
Okay.
But I would like some days I wouldn't wear them because man, this brace would get hot, and I would start sweating, and then I would start chafing, and just it was just really uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one day I accidentally broke them because I was like trying to reach for something. I had dropped the pencil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was like, when I tell you this was pure accident, I just was like, all right, I'm almost there. And I just kind of jerked my body forward, reached for the pencil, and the one leg broke on it. And I was just like, oh, I I wasn't even like shocked that I broke it. I instantly got scared about what my foster mom at the time was gonna do.
Oh.
And they called her, and I got out and got back in my regular shorts and was just sitting in my chair without them. They called her, she picked me up. We were heading to the doctor. The second we pulled out of the lot, she just unleashed it on me, like smacking me, screaming, just because I broke them by accident. Like I was even telling her, like I was trying to pick up a pencil and they just broke. And it was like stuff like that really was why I had a bad attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Because like then if I did get in trouble at school, it was because I had a bad attitude.
Yeah.
I think in 6th grade, I got over 30 detentions that year. Almost got suspended. Never to this extent I was suspended, but I was just constant trouble all the time. And I don't know what changed it, but once I got to high school, I was older. I was a little more sure of myself. I started getting options. People would ask me, even though I was still in foster care, people would ask me like if I was okay with this or that. They never used to ask me those questions when I was a kid. But the like stuff like that, the older I got, the more I matured. It was more so that more like, all right, I know what happened to me. Nobody else does, but someone try to press me, I'm a buck right back up at them, no matter what the reason.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I like held myself around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like it always circles back to my mom. You know, once she brought me into her life, and I was brought, and I brought her into mine. It was crazy, man, because I was able to like breathe. I was just able to like just breathe. And I'm telling you right now, having just a sigh of relief knowing that like everything is actually gonna work out, and that like I found a home and a mother and siblings, man, it was the craziest feeling ever. And ever since then, like once she asked to adopt me, you know, I took a few days to think about it, and I
Mm-hmm.
came back with obvious yeah. But after that moment, I swear I started just getting better at almost everything I was doing. Wrestling got better, school got better, track got better, life got better. It was like I wasn't getting in trouble like for anything anymore after that point. It was just, I don't know, I felt like I had my head on straight. And I had someone to really like steer me into the right path if I started to dip down the wrong way.
Yeah, that's so crucial. I mean, one of the things that is always interesting is figuring out, you know, we like to bring up either misconceptions or turning points a lot because I think those are, you know, extreme moments in people's lives that can dictate kind of what their future looks like. So, you know, for an example, you started to dive into the abuse that you experienced, kind of, you know, went into detail in that when you were on the Ellen show. You even described it as a war zone, right? Like that's just not a healthy environment for anyone to be living in. So obviously having your mother, Kim, come in and become a part of your family and open you up to that. And like you said, being able to breathe is so important. And I think especially when you're at a young age, dealing with all the pressures, the potential judgment that's occurring at school, like that was one of the things that I was really interested in. I'm like, you're rolling up to the wrestling meet, you roll up onto the mat and you competing with no legs, you're competing with a fully able-bodied person. You probably got some interesting looks across the mat and you had some
Oh
people.
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, like how you know, this is one of the things I was talking with my mom about actually. I'm like, what's your process for breaking the ice? Because I'm sure you've got a ton of people when they meet you or are introduced to you who don't necessarily know how to approach the awkward conversation that might be. And I feel like you have this lighthearted smile and energy that can break up any awkward silence. But
Yeah.
you know, maybe do you have any fun stories that you could bring up?
Not even stories, but just different situations.
Okay.
So wrestling, there is this one time where I walked out on the mat. It was one of the first matches of my senior year, and just everybody was just staring. And the dude across from me was giving me this dirty look. Like he really thought he was about to just walk over me, and people were judging. I think everybody thought I couldn't wrestle, or that was like my first time or something. And I went out there and I teched this man.
Nice.
Like 15-0, just embarrassed. And then just completely shut everybody up. And I just kept it all business. You know, I didn't even celebrate. I shook the dude's hand and walked off the mat, sat down, and waited for the next match.
Cool as a cucumber.
You feel? But those are those moments when like your actions just like speak way louder than the words. I love it because 100%. I don't even have to say anything to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I just do what I'm training to do. Go out there and do what I was meant to do and execute the moves that I've just drilled over and over again. You're going to see the results of it.
100%. And, you know, I think that's something that, you know, you're reaping the benefits of that now. You've been obviously working hard for years. Now you have people like Candlewick Press reaching out and offering to write books for you about you. Like, can you maybe talk about this book when it comes out on, I believe it's August 3rd. I think I might have a early release copy here, but maybe give us a little detail, a little insight on the book, what it's about, maybe some inspiration, maybe some inside sneak peeks for those who are listening or watching.
So the book Zion Unmatched, let me bring it back. I want to give everybody a little backstory on how this book happened.
Okay.
So this has been, I would say, a little over a year. So not this past January, but the last January,
Mm-hmm.
they approached me, and it was just like an idea. Um, Not even Candlewick, but this my agent approached me uh, about a book, and I was like, okay, let's see what we can do. So they
Mm-hmm.
set me up with my writer, James H. Hirsch. He is a New York best-selling Times author. This man is absolutely incredible. But we started working. He would show up at anything I was doing. Like if I was in New York, he'll show up to New York. Or if I'm in Los Angeles, he'll show up to Los Angeles, which he's done. Or he's also shown up in Minneapolis when I was racing. He's shown up. He'll just like kind of follow me around
Mm-hmm.
and just talk to me.
Nice.
Like catch me in the moment. So like the second I'm done wrestling, he'll come up to me and talk to me. Even like, well, I might not even be able to breathe, but then he wants to know those thoughts that are going through my head in that exact moment.
Yeah.
And we've been just kind of doing that for over a year, still even now. And the finished product, I read through it over and over and over again because I wanted to make sure my message was extremely clear.
Mm-hmm.
And the first book, they were like, what do you want this to be marketed towards? And I really wasn't even hard to think about what I wanted. I chose children because I feel like I have an impact on kids because kids are curious.
Mm-hmm.
And that curiosity is innocent as it can be, And I want to show kids how to be able to interact with someone who's disabled like me or like someone else that has a different type of disease or disability, just so they know how to treat everybody with equal equality and respect. And I just love kids in general. Any day when it comes to choosing a big speech for a school of kids or a place full of investors, I'm probably choosing the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like I can be more impressionable and more impactful. And what really wanted me to get this book to a younger age was that my very first speech I ever gave, I was at school and I'm in class, I'm in my architecture class, and the AD comes up and it's just like, I need to pull Zion out for a second. And I'm thinking like, oh man, I'm in trouble. Because I like to have my fun. I
100%.
feel like a year-old kid,
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, all right. So I sat down and he just dropped these huge stack of papers in front of me. And then I really was almost started to sweat because like I didn't know what I did. I was like, this is like some
You're like,
top.
this is whole lot of plagiarism. I didn't submit this much this year.
It was about 300 kids from this school in Akron, Cuyahoga Falls in Ohio. And it was a school full of Syrian refugees from, this was a couple of years ago, from when where there was a lot of conflict out there. So families were sending their kids to escape the war so they would survive. They didn't want their children to die.
Mm-hmm.
And these kids had seen my documentary and they had just all wrote me personal. Like every letter seemed so personal, bro. Like no personal. And it was just, I was reading and these kids are just like pouring their hearts out to me, like talking about the Netflix thing, talking about it inspires them, talking about how they think they're going to see their families again, giving them hope. Like, dude, this like shook me down to the core for a second. Mm-hmm. Like I don't even like it. Sounds like I sound like I'm being dramatic, but when I tell you how serious, or when I am when I say that, and they drew me like these pictures of just like me wrestling or them and their parents, and like me like giving them a high five. Like, dude, like these kids went in, And so my next thing was I got done reading through all of them, and I'm sitting, I look at the AD and I'm like, what can I do for these kids? I told him, I said, I got to do something for them. I can't just accept this and do nothing. You know, like that seemed wrong to me. And he was like, well, we can see if we can see if we can get you to the school. And I was like, one other thing, I really like this particular drawing this little girl made. And I was like, another thing, I really like this drawing. Can I make it to a shirt and surprise the whole school with shirts?
No
And
way.
he was like, yeah. And he was like, we can actually, if we can make that happen. And I was like, please. And he pulled through. He had BSN Sports sponsoring it. So all the shirts were free. They pretty much went up to BSN, stated my case of what I wanted to do, and they were all for it. And this shirt, this girl, like in crayon, she made it in the Kent State color, said "Be a Zion."
Wow.
And yeah. And so like I showed up to the school. The school got them all in the gym and didn't tell them I was coming. And I wanted to keep it that way. I wanted them to think they were just having another like assembly or something.
Yeah.
And so I walk in and all the kids just like eyes got big, dude. Like their eyes were just so wide, was just shock. And having his kids were like waving, and I'm just so like, dude, I was so excited. I felt like I had electricity going through my bones. And then I got up there and I spoke my bit. And then I personally went and spoke to every single kid that was sitting on the gym floor. And I made that a point because they made it personal. I'm going to make it personal. You know?
Yeah, 100%.
And,
Dude, that's amazing.
And surprisingly, no one told me, but Fox 8 was in on it. So they kind of pulled up and recorded the whole thing.
No way. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm slightly frustrated at myself for not picking up on that one, but I'm glad you were able to tell that story in your own words, because it's you can obviously tell like the emotion and passion that you have there. Obviously you have some extreme motivation to inspire others, be able to provide that inspiration that, you know, not necessarily everyone is able to do at times. You know, one of the things that stuck out in this book for me was like, what's your motivation? And I don't know if you can see there, but I'll put it up onto the camera. But I think you know what that was, and it's to prove everyone wrong. And, you know, to me, I think, you know, I resonate with that story, and I'm definitely not in the same situation that you're in, but I think there's a lot of people out there in this world that, you know, maybe were written off at a younger age, or maybe didn't get the respect that they deserved. And, you know, they feel some type of way about it and are ready to prove people wrong. And, you know, I love being able to have a conversation like this with you and share kind of that same passion. And, you know, I just love the positivity that you bring to the situation and to social media in particular. You're crushing TikTok, you're crushing Instagram, you're on Insta Live with Dave Meltzler yesterday. How are you kind of attacking social media? Obviously, you've figured out how to create viral content. People are consuming it on TikTok, on Instagram. You mentioned that you want to target a younger audience. That's kind of where we're at with the Athletes Podcast as well. You know, our goal is to educate and entertain the next generation. And I think you've got that nailed pretty down pat. So, you know, maybe if you could give some insight as to how you create this content, make it engaging, and, you know, are you just click and record at all times of the day, or what's your secret sauce?
I got you. So when it comes to like the social media and everything, it mainly in the start of it was I had a good about 12K followers in college just from purely just wrestling. And I would post videos of me wrestling because I was like, you know, kicking butts. Yeah. And it was fun. And I just like, everybody has to see this. I'm finally like pretty decent now, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I would even like, even when I was crap, I would still post videos of me getting my butt kicked. I didn't care.
100%. Yeah.
I just like to share it with people. And it started with just like my friends. I was pretty much like following and that were following me. Like I've had the same Instagram page since I was 17.
Okay.
And it's just like, I don't know, every time I post something, more people will see it. And I'm just doing normal, like everyday things.
Mm-hmm.
Either whether it was laying brick or, like wrestling or running or doing pull-ups or box jumps. But I guess most people don't do those things on their hands.
That's
It's
definitely
like
what makes
normal.
you unique, I think.
Yeah.
Laying bricks when you're doing that strictly with hands is, not something, that's something people struggle with when they're fully able-bodied. So for you to do it is
Mhm.
pretty damn impressive, man.
Yeah, and then like Netflix blew it up big time, as you can tell. And then, just the bigger things I started to hop onto, like the Ellen show, um, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I've been hopping on. It's always for someone that has a big presence or a big name because they're fascinated by my story.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of opened a lot of doors for me. And then, and the first chance I had to see if I could take it further, I took it. I worked with this guy. His name's Craig. He actually runs part of Real Deal, the company that I'm under, with me and this guy Mata. And he's also like a very, very intelligent guy,
Okay.
to say the least. He's one of my close friends now. It's been about 3 years. And he just helps me target like certain times to post, or he'll like come up with an idea because we're always shooting footage all the time just for the company and for me, and you never know what it could be. I could just be like outside doing something stupid,
Mm-hmm.
like a
Yeah,
dance.
you were posting a picture with your girl yesterday about it, and it's blowing up, right? Like,
Yeah,
I
and
think
it's just like stupid funny stuff.
it's the fact that you are humble, excited, and interested at some of the things that you're doing, and your passion shines through. And obviously, your undaunted spirit, like they mentioned in this Candlewick press, like you've been able to do some incredible things. Zion, your end goal here is 2024 Paralympics in Paris,
Yes, sir.
competing, specifically racing in the wheelchair. What's the next steps look like for you? Obviously, I'm sure watching the Tokyo 2020 happening, as we record right now, those Olympics are probably lighting a bit of a fire under your ass to
Oh,
keep
without a doubt.
training.
I have multitudes of things set up which I don't want to make public.
Okay.
Nothing bad, but like certain people I'm working with, I don't want everybody to know till it's already been a few months,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But I'm telling you, it all starts on August 1st for me,
Okay.
going all the way until the next season starts every
I
day.
love it. I love it. I love it. I'm super excited to be able to continue following along your journey. You are definitely unmatched in the effort and just sheer incredible nature that you have, bringing it to every single aspect of your life. Zion, we always wrap up by asking our guest what the biggest piece of advice would be to the next generation of athletes. Obviously, this is near and dear to your heart. You've gone through some difficult times, to say the least, and you're an inspiration to a ton. What would be your biggest piece that you'd give to that next gen?
What I would say is never let anybody tell you that there's a limit to what you can do. We are all special in our own way, and with our abilities that we are gifted with, our skills that we drive to obtain and that we work hard to obtain and train to obtain, these are the things that need to drive you to the top of where you want to be at. Let someone telling you that there's a limit that there's a limit to be fuel for yourself. Every time someone tells you you can't do it, you should try and you try to prove them wrong. And not even prove them wrong, prove yourself right that you can. Be your own person, empower yourself, because there's not a limit to what we can do as a race and as athletes. As a race and as athletes.
Yeah, it gives me chills, man. I appreciate your time, sincerely, Zion. I am super excited for people to read your new book that's coming out at the beginning of August, as well as continuing to following along your journey, man. It's impressive to say the least. Zion Clark, this has been episode 93 of the Athletes Podcast. Where can everyone find you on social media?
You can find me at big_Z_2020 on Instagram and TikTok, Facebook, Zion Clark, and that's it for now.
Beauty. I appreciate that, man. We'll be in touch. I'm sure we'll get a workout in at some point in the near future.
Yes, sir. Hit me up.
Thank you, folks, for tuning into the 93rd episode of the Athletes Podcast featuring Zion Clark. If you haven't yet, check out his new book that just came out, part of a 3-part series. Zion's an incredible athlete, to say the least. I hope you enjoyed that episode, some of the insights that he was able to provide. Guys, an inspiration, to say the least. We appreciate you tuning into the Athletes Podcast, whether you're listening, watching on YouTube. If you can hit that subscribe, like button, we really appreciate it. It makes things, a little nicer for us when we get that like, see that comment, whatever it is. Jordan Maslin is our producer. Ian Singleton is our videographer. My name's David Stark, your host. We hope you enjoyed the 93rd episode of the Athletes Podcast featuring Zion Clark. Bye.